The people that read your book and don't care for it, they don't give you a call. But the people that are reading your book because they're looking to solve the problem that you help solve, and they say, I like the way that they're solving this problem, they do give you a call, and they know a lot more about the way that you go about things.
Hey everyone, it's Melanie Johnson. Welcome to the Elite Publishing Podcast, everything about books, giving you tips and tricks and authors who have used their book for success. Today we have Jeremy Keil. He is the author of Retire Today, 5 Simple Steps, and he's just crushing it with this book. Welcome, Jeremy. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me here, Melanie.
So tell us, why did you write a book?
I wrote a book because I have an audience I want to reach that I enjoy speaking to, and I have something to say to them. I think that's the reason why you write a book. It felt like to me as if it was my calling. I need to get this out into the world. But I've been a financial advisor for 22 years, and I've developed a system. And when I have developed it over the 22 years, people enjoy it, and they often say that they aren't getting this from their current financial advisor, that they feel so much more confident in their retirement. And I could just talk one-on-one with you and then talk one-on-one with the next person, or I could take the system and spend some time getting it out to a lot more people to help a lot more people with their retirement planning.
Yeah, I find like when someone has my book ahead of time, they already know my philosophy and things that I think. So I have to say a lot less words, right? They already know what you know in a lot of ways. And it's easier for them to want to work with you afterwards. Have you found that?
Yes, the people that read your book and don't care for it, they don't give you a call. But the people that are reading your book because they're looking to solve the problem that you help solve, and they say, I like the way that they're solving this problem, they do give you a call, and they know a lot more about the way that you go about things. They're a lot more educated about on down the line of what your system does to help solve the problem they're looking to solve.
Yeah, and if you want to see more information on Jeremy's system, we did an interview with him on our Elite Expert Insider podcast where we dive deep into all of his retirement strategies as well. So tell us, what was your process in writing the book? Did you write every day? Did you talk your book? How did you do it?
I thought I would talk the book because I've had a podcast for over 6 years now. I've got 280 some episodes right now. So I thought I would talk the book, but I didn't. It just felt more natural for me to write. And so sitting in my basement, I would type away. And then what worked the most is actually 3 times, I had to book myself an overnight hotel stay just to get away from everyone and everything. And my wife said, "Why are you not just writing downstairs or at the library or in your office for free?" And I said, "You're describing everything that's not working right now, and trying out different things, seeing what works is the way to go." And for me, where half the book was written in a different library than the one close to me, and the other half was written over about 3 days in a hotel.
I love that. We did our latest book, Be Recognized. My business partner, Jen, and I, we went to Santa Fe. It was our 10-year anniversary, so we were celebrating, and we just hunkered down and got the book written. And it was great because, like you say, it's a different environment. It takes you out of the distractions that you have normally and just gives you a different perspective, and you're there for a specific thing to do that. And I like that you were writing. So some people like to talk it, but sometimes it doesn't make sense after a while. And when you were writing, it seemed like it helped you to get it down where you were seeing it. Did you stop and start a lot? Were you editing as you went, or did you just go and write contiguously?
I just tried to write contiguously. What helped out most is that I was able to map out everything. So I started with a 1-page book plan where I had the message and the audience, a whole lot of other things too, but that's really the big thing. What's the message you're trying to get out, and who are the people you're getting the message to? But then I came up with the title, and then I came up with the title of each chapter, and then I did the first paragraph for each chapter. Then I wrote the first chapter, and I sent it off to someone who helped to coach me through the first chapter, and they told me to rewrite the entire thing. And so I did, and then I sent it to them again, and they said, "Rewrite it for real this time." And then I finally got it. And so once they said, "Okay, this is a good chapter 1, then I did chapter 2 and 3, sent it off to them. They said, "All right, you got this." And then I was off to the races, where I went through and kept on writing the chapters.
Do you have a formula? I think glanced at your book, did you start out with the story and then go to data, or did you have a system for each chapter?
It's helpful to
Framework.
have a story per chapter in the world of nonfiction. That's the thing, right? You start with the
Yeah.
story, and then you have the data in the middle, and then you draw the conclusion. They'll probably figure out the conclusion from the data related to the story, but then you still tell them the conclusion in there. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the standard every single chapter. It didn't follow through with that exactly. Especially my book goes through. It's the subtitle is "Create Your Retirement Master Plan in 5 Simple Steps," and so there's 5 chapters devoted to each step, and it's as much storytelling as I like to try to get in the world of finance. It was hard to force that. I didn't want to force that. Another thing,
Mm-hmm.
it felt natural to have kind of the preamble in a way, and then here's the actual system, and then kind of the post. It felt natural to do a part one, part two, part three, but it just
Uh-huh.
didn't feel right as I was putting it together. So we scrapped that idea. So it's almost like the words and the format almost discovers itself, but at the same
Yep.
time, you started with a format and a structure. Otherwise, you won't get anywhere if you don't have this format of A to Z and then start.
And it's true. It's like we have a structure that we use. And then, but like you say, if it's forced or you're like, you get writer's block. Oh my gosh, I have to have a story here. Oh my gosh, I have to
Mhm.
have this here. And then it's almost like this forced thing versus if you're having a conversation at a dinner party and somebody asked you the same thing, it would just flow right out of you easily. And that kind of just develops over time. How do you feel like you've used your book for your business? What have been some of the things that you've done to use your book for your business?
Yeah, so the book is a great way when somebody finds me from other means, then you introduce them to the book. And people like that. People like getting a physical copy of the book. And I've got a nice bookmark, and I write an inscription to them, especially in the world of financial planning. There's no deliverable. I'm not giving you a car or building you a house or
Mm-hmm.
tangible. So it's really helpful in the world of connecting with someone who's not a client yet to actually give
Yeah.
them something tangible. So that's a helpful thing. But then also too, people have discovered my book from other means, just came upon the book first. And so when they are reading through the book and want to reach out, it's also helpful to send them some other things. So I've got my podcast, Retire Today. I have my YouTube channel, Art Retirement, on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. And so when somebody emails in from it's kind of like if you found me from the podcast and YouTube, let me send you the book. If you found me from the
Yes.
book, let me send you the podcast and the YouTube. And often when I'm
Uh-huh.
talking to them, they say, "Oh, I read your book. I loved your book. I've been watching some of your videos, and I just subscribed to your podcast now." So that you're kind of getting all 3 senses. And I just want to talk about that real quick, because being a podcaster for 6 years, and you and I met at a place called FinCon, a lot of
Yep.
podcasters around. My initial thought, and what I did, I went on a bunch of podcasts to promote the book, and heard nothing. No one was buying my book. And I
Hmm.
really figured out that readers read and listeners listen and watchers watch. The people on YouTube weren't necessarily wanting to buy my book. The people on the podcast weren't necessarily writing my book. So I adjusted my marketing of the book is trying to find readers. And so far, the best way to do that is to try to find places like Kiplinger and Market Watch and Yahoo Finance, where readers are reading about finance, and then to get quotes in those articles and mention Jeremy Keil as the author of the bestseller Retire Today.
The new thing that we've been doing, because it's exactly what you said, we've been turning people's audiobook into a podcast. So now each chapter that you have as an audiobook, we take the MP3 and turn it into a podcast episode. People are like, "You're going to give it for free?" And I'm like, "Yeah, because someone like you want to get people into your ecosystem. You're wanting to let them hear the message." And I say, like you say, some people are listeners, some people are readers. And even if it's an audiobook, they're like, it's a book, right? It's like that. But if it's a podcast, then we turn it, they're looking at podcast. And then we even add in, we use AI and do a conversation about each chapter. So it's a conversation of two people talking about each chapter of your book, as well as having each chapter of the MP3 in there. So let's say you have 10 chapters of the book, and then you have 10 chapters of conversation about the book. And also now you have the SEO from Apple and Spotify and all those places that are pushing your book out to a whole nother audience. So I believe in that 100% is using as many things. How much, if you had to put like a dollar revenue on it by having your book, how much revenue do you think is brought in for you, or even a number of clients that it's brought in?
Yeah, so we're
And
only
so,
6 months into it right now. There has been one client that's come in, and our typical client ends up investing over $500,000 with us. And then I just looked at this today, the average client's annual fee comes to about $8,000 on a recurring basis. We're doing quite a lot of work for them, meeting them at least 4 times a year. And so we've had one exact client as of today, 6 months in. We've got several that we're speaking to right now. And it's interesting, I launched basically at Labor Day. So there's a
mhm.
flurry of activity where
Yep.
people are interested about it, mainly people you know. And there's a lull for me. And then right away after the beginning of January, a lot of people started reaching out that I never heard of before. So they had found me from the book. And what it turned out is that a lot of them maybe got the book in the September-ish time frame with the flurry of press and
Right.
publicity there, but they didn't actually read it till Christmas time. And then, of course, New Year's hits and it's time to take care of your finances. And so they reached out. So it seems like there's this lag of, okay, I got your book, but it's several months later before I finally finish the book. Then it's stewed in my mind for a little bit and thinking, okay, I need to reach out to that person. Then you start looking a little bit online and you check out the website and you find the podcast and the YouTube, and then they reach out. So it's not like I publish today and there's clients that you're going to get tomorrow. The hope is that this is an evergreen book where you've got your ideas out there and then people are constantly discovering you and then going through their own cycle of how long it takes until they reach out to you.
And I love what you say, evergreen, because a book doesn't go away. Amazon's always going to promote it. It's always going to be there. Make sure you dust it off the shelf if you've forgotten about it to use it and send it out. And not just from Amazon, like you say, physically giving it away to people. When you go to FinCon, handing the book out, or to wherever you are, using the book as that advertising and marketing tool. And it's not cheap to publish, right? When you have somebody help you, it's an investment. It's a 5-figure investment generally. But you look at that $8,000 client just in 6 months, and then there's a lifetime value of that client and how many maybe referrals that client might give you as well. If you're getting 3 to 4 to 10 clients a year, you just don't know. And I always tell the people it's really up to you. We have a program where we're sending books out every month. So we have a list of people that we curate, and then we send books out every month and mail them to them with a letter. So if you're sending those books out and using it as an advertising and marketing tool, gosh, if you have the investment of the book and it costs maybe, I don't know, altogether it costs us like $8 to ship our paperback book out, including the book, and you get a $10,000 client for that $8, I would do that all day long.
Yeah, that's exactly it. When I met you, what I remember most about you, Melanie, is you said that you describe the book writing process to your authors as a triathlon, where the actual writing the book is the first part of it, and then the publishing is the second part, and the marketing is the third part. So clearly a quick story because I've remembered it for months upon months, and that helped me realize I met you basically the week after I published, and I thought,
Yeah.
pre-Melanie, I thought, this is it, I'm done. And I realized quickly that I'm not done. And so I've put in a lot more effort into the
Yeah.
third leg of the book publishing triathlon because of your story there. And it seems like it's almost the same amount of work as the putting it into it. But I've talked to a few other authors and they've done the similar self-publishing, and they've hired coaches and put in the same amount of time and effort, and they've sold in the hundreds of categories. And depending on who you talk to, and I've seen things like the first thing you need to do is get your book in the hands of 1,000 people or 10,000 people, the number is. And whether you're
Right.
giving it away for free or not, just get your book into the hands of the right people. The best way I discovered to do that is Goodreads, where for $119, you can do a Goodreads giveaway. And for 8 days minimum, you could do longer, but I've dialed it down now. 8 days at the minimum, Goodreads will have on the website where people can look for these free books because it's on a Kindle. It costs you nothing to send it out by Kindle. It costs you $119 to have Goodreads do this. But the days go by, and all of a sudden, 100 people have your book. And maybe another 100 have put it on their shelf as if, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on this and I want to use this later. And so what I'm doing now, we'll see if I run out, if there's some diminishing returns. I'm a financial person, so law of diminishing returns might hit at some point in time. But I've done this 7 times now where I just
Wow.
have it now actually every 8 days. I have a Goodreads giveaway. You will never, at this point, you can always enter a Goodreads giveaway for my book. So every 8 days, 100 people get my book. And if the process happens all along, maybe one of them 4, 5, 6 months from now will reach out, and my initial investment for 100 people to get my book is $119.
And the other great thing about that is it's spiking, even though you might not think about it, it's going to spike the algorithms for you. So they're going to push your book more because it's spiking the algorithm, that you're gamifying it in a way, which is also great. Years ago, when we first started, Amazon had a giveaway program and it was free. And I was doing that like crazy. We had a lot of our own books that we had low content books of our own. And then we had books for authors that I was pumping that and doing that. And we would see the same thing, that spike in the algorithm. And then Amazon took it away. I didn't even realize Goodreads was still doing that and if it was effective. So I'm glad to hear that it is effective. It's just the investment, like you say, of $119.
Yeah, it's highly effective, and 365 divided into every 8 days is something like 45 times, something like that. If I keep this up for maybe $5,000, I can get my book in the hand of 4,500 people. And in my case, it's a average client is a $8,000 per year in revenue. And 1 out of 4,500, I would just assume, would eventually go on through the line and reach out and then become a client of ours. So it seems like a worthy thing. And every 8 days, I like to check my Amazon rankings because you're right, it spikes it up on there. And categories where I'm maybe like 10 or 15, I get to like top 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5. And so it feels good to do that. And I also notice right now, just natural without any sort of spike, there's maybe 10 books a day that are being sold. And that day that 100 show up for free, there's maybe 15, 20, 25 that are sold because you've been pushed up in the rankings and people see, wait a second, this is a top 5 book. I'm going to go check it out.
That's right. It shows up on their search page right away. And then you're next to these books that you wouldn't dream of being next to. That's why I always say a bestseller campaign is great, because you're beating out Dan Kennedy or these great people that we've beat out the 5 languages of love before. If your book is number 1 over 5 languages of love, you've just hit a whole nother audience. You've come out of the shadows. And by doing this, like you say, all of a sudden you're next to these other books and they would never have found your book before. That now you're getting that audience and probably a qualified person that's buying your book as well during that time.
Yes, right on.
I love that. Thanks for that tip. Everyone's going to use that. Thanks for being here. I'm going to cut us off now. I know we've had time, but I've got another interview coming up. So Jeremy, thank you so much. It was great meeting you at FinCon. What a wonderful, we recommend that too. We were both talking about that. We might go there again this year. I think it's in Palm Springs this year. Yes. So thanks for all the tips, and tell people where they can reach out to you and get your book.
Yes, the book is Retired Today, Create Your Retirement Master Plan in 5 Simple Steps. You can head to my website, jeremykeil.com. That's JeremyKeil.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And if you're looking to become a #1 best-selling author and have us help you market your book, reach out to us at eliteonlinepublishing.com, and we will see you next time.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.